Part 70. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Ching Qian. Chapter 692. Si fucking knew clearly that if she did not use the talisman given to her by Yuan Mingqi to determine Xia Yangkai's location, the consequences would be disastrous. Because as long as the Supernatural Management Bureau slows down a step, Xia Yangkai will be completely destroyed. Since you are from a free continent, you should act according to the rules of the free continent. She never shows mercy. My territory. Odelia heard this and didn't ask any more questions. Okay, give me a general description and I'll check it out first. Si fucking told her the story, cut off the phone, picked up Xiaoyu, and put him into the car. Boom. The car door closed and Xiaoyu fastened his seat belt as quickly as possible. Let's go. Si fucking stepped on the accelerator and turned the steering wheel. The car sped away at an extremely weird speed. By the time the two arrived at the temporary station of the Supernatural Administration, it was already an hour later. When Xiaoyu got out of the car, his legs felt weak for the first time. Xiaobai saw it, hit him with her small body in time, and threw a bottle of water for him from the car. Xiaoyu paused and whispered, "Thank you. You have to get used to it." Xiaobai sighed, "If you ride in Jeju's car too much, your legs will not get weak. If your fans see you like this, your image will be gone." Xiaoyu. He couldn't get used to this. How could anyone have such terrible driving skills? Xiaoyu's face was expressionless. He never wanted to ride in Si fucking's car again in his life. Si fucking walked quickly to the back room. Yun Fengzi stood up immediately and was very surprised. Ching ching. "Uncle Yun, I came here with Xiaoyu," Si fucking said. "He is fine, don't worry." Yun Fengzi was still a little stunned. "Huh? Oh, please thank Auntie." Si fucking calmly pinched Xia Yangkai's wrist and her heart sank. Seeing her expression, Leader Yun's heart was in his throat. "Can Miss Si be cured?" "No, it can be cured." Si fucking took out silver needles of different lengths. "It's not a serious injury." After she sterilized the silver needle, she inserted it into Xia Yangkai's key acupuncture points one by one. Soon the poisonous blood was forced out, and some color returned to Xia Yangkai's face. After Si fucking sutured Xia Yangkai's wounds, he fed her a few more pills. After the series of operations, Xia Yangkai's breathing returned to steady and his skin color returned to normal. Wonderful rejuvenation. If Leader Yun hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that there really was such a magical medical skill in the world. Yun Fengzi was very worried and asked anxiously, "Why hasn't Yan Yan woke up yet?" Because the other party wanted to kill Aunt Xia more. Si fucking's eyes darkened. They also dispatched spiritual evolvers. Aunt Xia's spirit was severely traumatized, so she fell into a coma. Hearing these words, Leader Yun's face turned pale. Spirit. For evolvers, mental strength is far more important than physical strength. For example, Onmyoji will pay more attention to the cultivation of the soul. If it reaches the highest level, Onmyoji can completely separate from the body and survive. But this is only at a theoretical level and cannot happen in the real world. But it can be done in the magical world built by holographic games. Yunmen, the Lord of Yunmens in the Eternal Continent, is such an Onmyoji. She can change bodies without limit. As long as she has a little bit of consciousness that doesn't die, she can live forever. This is why she ranks among the top 10 vicious NPCs. Grandpa Yun, don't worry, I have a sister who is also a spiritual evolver. Si fucking reassured him. She can help Aunt Xia rebuild the spiritual world, but Aunt Xia will be comatose for a longer time. Copying this evolver's ability is unbelievable, but it also has limitations. Although she can copy Tsukimi's evolver abilities and has some mental attack methods, it is impossible to copy the full version of her abilities. Everything has a balance, and breaking the balance is not necessarily a good thing. As long as I don't have to worry about my life. Leader Yoon breathed a sigh of relief and said in a heavy voice, it's really such an unreasonable disaster. He adopted Xia Yangkai very early. She had been very stubborn as a child, and when she was 16, she began working for the Supernatural Administration, responsible for supernatural events in the Daxia Empire and protecting the safety of ordinary people. Although it cannot be said that she has made great contributions to the past, she has also benefited the present generation. Why should she suffer such a sin? Leader Yun's eyes were a little sour. Si raised his head. Who are those people? I don't know. Yun Fengzi was a little tired, but he must have come from Free Continent, so he is much stronger than ordinary evolvers. Si nodded slightly. She waited for Odelia to send her a message. 2 hours later, Tsukimi rushed over. Si whispered, please help me take a look. I have temporarily stabilized the collapse of Anxie's mental world. Leader Yun has never seen Yu Jian's face, but he can feel the huge power and pressure on her body. He said respectfully, sorry to trouble you, Miss Yu. Yu Jian sat down by the bed, raised his hand and placed it on Xia Yangkai's forehead. After a few seconds, she spoke, it's been taking a long time. Leader Yun's expression changed, and he couldn't help but shake his body, that ink's tone. It took a long time, but it doesn't matter. It's easy for me, Yu Jian said, I need a quiet environment. King Qin stayed and helped me. Leader Yun agreed repeatedly and dragged Yun Fengzi out. 30 minutes later, Yu Jian and Si came out and closed the door. Yun Fengzi hurriedly asked, Miss Yu, how is the situation? I helped her rebuild her mental and subconscious world, Yu Jian said. She will be able to resist more powerful mental attacks in the future, so it is also a good thing to sleep for a few days. Alliance leader Yun took a breath. Miss Yu's methods are indeed astonishing. You're welcome. Yu Jian waved his hand casually, since you are from my free continent, let us handle it and you can rest. Here, in the corridor, Si received a call from Yu Xian. He asked calmly, where? Brother Ninth, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Si said lazily, I can do it by myself. You go handle your affairs. If I can't solve it, I will definitely come to you, and I won't show off. This sentence made Yu Xian laugh softly. Well, good, there is progress. After the call ended, Si turned his head and saw a bright moon in the black night sky. In a daze, she remembered the last night she spent with Emperor Yin. He is gone, but there are still thousands of him. She will take over his responsibility and continue to protect the entire 5 states of Daxia. The ringtone of the cell phone broke the silence again. Si picked it up. Hello, Oglia said, we found out that the man came from Free Continent. The god-slaying mercenary group, someone paid a high price to hire them to kill Xia Yangkai and Xia Yu's mother and son. The god-slaying mercenary group is headed by an S-level evolver. As she said that, Odelia clicked her tongue, it's called killing gods. Do they really think they can kill gods? Free Continent is full of mercenaries. These mercenaries are all desperados, and most of them have no organizational affiliation. Just give them money or enough resources and they will work for it. She will kill her for him today, and she will kill him for her tomorrow. There are no rules at all. This also confirms the chaotic continent of Free Continent. Okay, I know, I've got them all. Si said in a cold voice, I'll be there in a moment. No problem, Oglia said, this little thing is taken care of by me. At this time, on a snowfield. The further north you go, the heavier the snow falls. The temperature here has dropped to more than 50 degrees below zero, and there are few people. Only the middle-aged man and a few other mercenaries left a trail of footsteps on the snow. Boss, we were too hasty just now. We haven't killed her yet, an evolutionist said. If she is not dead, how can we go back and explain to the leader? The middle-aged man chuckled, it's impossible. Her spirit has been destroyed. Only an S-level spiritual evolver can repair her spiritual world. But there are only a handful of S-level spiritual evolvers in this world. Even if he could find it, how could he treat Xia Yangkaiu? S-class evolvers have a group of followers wherever they are, and their status is extremely high. In the entire world of evolvers, Xia Yangkaiu has never had experience in Eternal College, and his strength and connections are far behind. Nothing to worry about at all. Take a rest for a while. The middle-aged man named an evolver, go and light a fire. This evolver can apparently create fire. Soon the group sat down by the campfire and started eating and drinking. 10 minutes later, the middle-aged man stood up vigilantly. You can't stay here for a long time. It's safe to leave and return to Free Continent. Sorry, you can't leave just yet. A voice sounded so quietly that the middle-aged man broke out in cold sweat. He turned around stiffly, and his voice came out from between his teeth, "Who?" There was another figure in the ice and snow. That's a woman with a great figure. Wearing a black skirt, she walked in slowly, like a dancing black swan. The middle-aged man's pupils suddenly shrank. Oh, oh. Oglia Lotbar. Odelia is not an evolver that cannot be caught in their eyes by the Evolutionary Alliance. She is an outstanding graduate of the inner courtyard of Eternal Academy and is still on the Eternal list. And there is an absolute gap between the top 50 and the bottom 50 on the Eternal list. Although Odelia is only a Transcendent grade evolver, she can defeat them with one hand. Why did Odelia appear here? Still stopping them? The middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. Miss Ogilia, we have never offended you. Ah, I know. Ogilia nodded slightly and said lightly, actually, you might as well offend me. At least my method is gentler. Why can't you think about it so hard that you provoke the ghost hand Heavenly Doctor? Babies with monthly tickets can vote for Ching Ching. Regarding the fact that every girl in the book with explosive fighting power thinks that her methods are moderate. I've been doing nucleic acid tests for 2 weeks in a row, and I'm still sealed. When did this day end? T. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Ching Qian. Chapter 693. Everyone is looking for a heavenly doctor with ghost hands. But there are also many people who want to kill the ghost hand heavenly doctor. Nothing more than that. Just because anyone who is brought back from death by the ghost hand heavenly doctor, as long as the ghost hand heavenly doctor needs help, these people will take action without saying a word. Ghost hand heavenly doctor's network of contacts is too huge. Not to mention Free Continent, even in the virtual game Eternal Continent, the ghost hand heavenly doctor knows many people. No one can calculate how many realms of power she knows. For Odelia, Sci-fi had saved her more than once. She would naturally help with such a small matter. Hearing these words, cold sweat broke out on the middle-aged man's forehead. Who is Miss Ogilia talking about? This must be a misunderstanding. Although these mercenaries are desperados and only take money to do things, they are also very discerning. Know who can be offended and who cannot be offended. The person who can drive Odelia to do things must be at the level of the captain of the Eternal Academy law enforcement team, right? They, the god-slaying mercenary group, would not dare to touch such an existence. You will know when she comes. Odelia looked at the time. I hope you don't offend her too much, so that she can have some time to have a cup of tea with me. She waved her hand lightly, and the guards came forward and controlled the middle-aged man and several other evolved people. The middle-aged man's face was pale and his head was buzzing. Originally, they were about to return to Free Continent successfully, but they were immediately caught. To this day, he still doesn't understand who he messed with. Here, Sci-fi restarted the car. Immediately afterwards, the passenger door was opened. Xiaoyu's eyes were deep. Teacher Si, I'm going to. Xiaobai licked his paws and blinked. You just said you wouldn't take Jeju's car. Si turned his head and showed a dangerous smile. What happened to my car? Are you so courageous to get in my car? What's the difference between dying and dying? Xiaoyu. There is no difference between being alive and dead. He actually experienced a hearse drift. Xiaobai said, you needs to exercise. It's about practicing. I fucking glanced at Xiaoyu. Don't take on film and television dramas in the first half of next year. You can film variety shows first and practice in the Eternal Continent for a few months before coming out. Xiaoyu sighed, feeling helpless. Listen to teacher Si. But it is true that he needs to improve his strength as soon as possible. After entering the continent of Free Continent, he has been forced to join the struggle. Si fucking drove for 2 hours and succeeded in making Xiaoyu vomit. Xiaoyu supported the tree, his face pale. Teacher Si clearly drove the car like a fighter jet. That's right, Juju. Juju, Xiaobai poked his furry little head out of his pocket. I can play games with you. We'll wait until you fully recover. Si fucking ruthlessly pressed Xiaobai back. If you go in now, you will only be eaten by an eagle. Xiaobai looked sad. It is a majestic Pixiu. It's so fierce. Here we are. Oglia sat on an ice cube with a glass of red wine in her hand. They are all in there, including the interrogation tools. Yes, I fucking handed her a box of tea and walked in. These 2 hours are a torture for middle-aged people and others. The sound of footsteps sounded, and the middle-aged man raised his head impatiently. When he saw Si fucking's face, his expression changed. Are you Xia Yankai's daughter? Xiaoyu's sister. But no one said that Xia Yankai had a daughter. Could the news about the Huo family be wrong? Wrong, Si fucking said calmly. I am his eldest brother. Xiaoyu followed in and said, yes. The middle-aged man's expression changed. You are still alive. This proved that several of his other brothers had been killed. With your little fighting power, you only dare to bully the weak and bully the weak. Si fucking stepped on the middle-aged man's sternum with his foot. You are so powerful, why don't you go to the Eternal Academy? The middle-aged man only felt something piercing into his brain. He took a breath and was speechless in pain. Is this girl a spiritual evolver? Tell me, who asked you to come? Si fucking lowered her eyelashes and asked coldly, what's the reason? There was double pain in the mind and body, and the middle-aged man let out a shrill scream. His head was covered with sweat, and he couldn't hold it any longer. In an instant, I said it. It's because Xia Yankai is. Ho ho. The middle-aged man's complexion suddenly turned pale, and he made a strange sound in his throat. Si fucking's expression changed slightly. Her fingers reached out like lightning and locked the middle-aged man's chin with lightning speed to prevent him from committing suicide. But it still didn't work. There was a small explosion, and a lot of blood spurted out from the middle-aged man's mouth, and his body fell softly. Several other evolvers also experienced this situation. It only takes a moment. Xiaoyu's eyes also changed. The chips in their bodies exploded. Odelia clicked her tongue. It seems that the person who hired them doesn't want them to reveal their purpose. Si fucking wiped his hands. It's okay. I'll take my revenge first. I'll wait until Aunt Xia wakes up to do the rest. No one can run away. Odelia nodded and said, they are just minions, the leader is not here. Thank you for your hard work. Si fucking hummed. Where is their home base? Odelia handed over the tablet, which showed a map. Jiifeng City, Free Continent, moved there 3 days ago. The coordinates of the mercenary group have never been fixed and will change every once in a while. Si fucking said slowly, okay. Odelia asked, do you need help? Si fucking thought for a while. You can help me walk the dog. Xiaoyu wants to accompany Auntie Xia. I can handle it by myself. Odelia responded, okay. She lifted Xiaobai up and put him in her arms. Xiaobai let out a comfortable purr. It likes beauty the most. It's good to follow the dog owner and see all kinds of beauties. On the other side, Free Continent, the Huo family. Huo Shiyun has been staying at Huo's house for the past few days and has mostly locked herself in her room. According to Yu Shuming, once something happens to Xia Yangkaiu and the Huo family finds out, she will be the first suspect, so she should avoid contact with the outside world as much as possible. In this way, no one could find her. These 10 days were a torment for Huo Shiyun. Today she finally saw Yu Shuming and asked anxiously, "How is it?" "Don't worry," Yu Shuming mouthed silently, "Xia Yangkaiu is no different from death. I didn't let others know her true identity. She will no longer affect your status." Huo Shiyun was overjoyed, but her face remained calm. "Okay, I'm going to pretend to be sick for a few days, and you should go back to Yu's house first." Yu Shuming nodded. Fortunately, he installed chips in the bodies of those mercenaries, otherwise things would be very bad if things were revealed. Yu Shuming breathed a sigh of relief as a worry was solved. His whole person felt a little dazed. When Mrs. Huo passes away, the power of the Huo family will be transferred to Huo Shiyun's generation, and his status will also increase accordingly, and he will no longer be looked down upon by other members of the Yu family. At this moment, in the morning, it's still dark. Jiafeng City, the garrison of the god-slaying mercenary corps. On the ground were broken wooden wine barrels, and gold and silver jewelry scattered randomly beside them. "Captain, Liuzi and the others have been out for so long, why haven't they come back yet?" A young man frowned. "Did they miss it?" "How is that possible?" The group leader had a beard, and he didn't take it seriously. "Those outside evolvers who have not gone to the Eternal Continent to experience are completely vulnerable to us." The young man thought about it and complained again, "That guy surnamed Yu is really ruthless. Captain, how can you promise him to put chips on all of us before the mission is completed? If anything happens, our lives will be at stake." The bearded man shrugged. "The money he gave us is enough. Aren't we just working our lives to make money? It's okay. This task is very simple. Just wait a moment. When his men come back with good news, he can take the chip from his body." Bearded man opened another barrel of wine and started drinking. After eating and drinking, it was completely bright. The bearded man stood up unsteadily, preparing to rest. At this time, he heard noisy sounds and screams coming from outside. "Captain! It's not good," a subordinate came to report in a hurry and ran in crawling on the ground. "Someone has called in." The bearded man stood up suddenly and threw the barrel away. "Who?" "One, a girl," the subordinate repeated with a horrified expression. "It's a girl." The bearded man was stunned. "Girl? At what age can you refer to a girl?" Before he could react, the door had been kicked open. All the evolutionaries under him were thrown in, stacked one on top of the other, without the ability to fight. A girl indeed. About 20 years old, tall and tall. The arms look slender, but they have fine and tough lines, and underneath the lines is hidden explosive power. This was a face he had never seen before. The bearded man's mind went through the younger generations of the 4 major families in Free Continent and other large families, but he couldn't find anyone who could match them. But this girl's strength is on display here. One man took down his mercenary group with ease. Bearded is a good S-class evolver, but his ability as an evolver has not kept up with the purity of his bloodline. He belongs to the bottom group among S-class evolvers, and his abilities are also auxiliary. Otherwise, he would not form a mercenary group, but could stay at the Eternal Academy or join the Holy Light Judgment Office. The bearded man opened his mouth wide. "You, who are you? Who are you? What do you have dash?" He couldn't say the next words, they were all stuck in his throat. Sci-fi came to him in an instant, pinched his throat with one hand, and said in a cool and calm voice, "You can't afford to offend someone. Can you vote for Super Akinkin with a sweet monthly ticket to cheer up? See you tomorrow." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 694. Buzz. Psychic attacks are launched at the same time. The bearded man's brain was shaken, and he felt as if a sledgehammer was hitting his head. A severe dizziness instantly overwhelmed him. Not only that, blood was flowing from his ears, eyes, nose, and mouth. Drop by drop, shocking. Seeing this scene, several other evolved people who fell to the ground were stunned, their pupils contracting violently. Although Beard is the weakest among S-class evolvers, it can't be seriously injured in an instant, right? Si shook his other free hand and sighed softly, it's still too weak. The bearded man looked at her in horror, having lost the idea of resisting. He screamed and began to beg for mercy, "Sir, I am really weak, please let me go, please." "Oh, I'm not talking about you." Si finally looked at him and said in a calm voice, "I'm talking about me." After she dealt this blow to Beard, her spirit also suffered some backlash. She can only wait until her bloodline returns to S level before she can easily fight against other S level evolvers. The bearded man was even more horrified when he heard what she said. His mouth was full of blood and his words were slurred. You. Is this still weak? With such strength, he can obviously join the law enforcement team of Eternal Academy. The bearded man has no idea where this pervert came from. What I'm telling you is Si suddenly struck him with an elbow, knocking him to the ground. She said lightly, "It's so useless." Beard vomited out another mouthful of blood, his fingers trembled, and he didn't even have the strength to get up. He was not surprised that the opponent could kill him instantly. The fear of death made his liver and gallbladder split, and he stretched out his hand. Sir, I only use money to do things, but there is someone else who really wants to thank you for your life, sir. If you don't deal with him, sir, there will still be endless troubles." When he said this, Luozihu was making malicious speculations in his heart. If this scary girl and Yu Shuming faced each other, who would be better? It's better to lose both sides. "Oh, Si eyes were calm, then tell me." Hearing these words, hope appeared in his bearded eyes, and he opened his mouth. "It's Jade, poof." As soon as the word came out, his eyes suddenly widened and his limbs began to twitch. He couldn't utter a single word, a fishy sweetness kept rising in his throat, and his mouth was blocked by blood spurting out. The bearded body fell softly and made no sound. Si looked indifferent. She knew about the chip. Like the god-killing robot, it is also an invention of the Intercontinental Research Institute for Evolvers. More than 100 years ago, there was a riot in Free Continent. This also makes people who are not evolvers realize that there must be weapons that can restrain evolvers in order to maintain balance. As a result, many technological killer weapons came into being. Even an evolved person cannot withstand a miniature bomb exploding in his body. But after the veteran of the Intercontinental Research Institute defected to the Revenge Organization, these technological killing weapons were developed into more advanced killing weapons by the Revenge Organization. They used this to target the Eternal Academy. Si eyes darkened. She didn't even look at the evolvers lying on the ground, wiped her hands and left the station of the god-killing mercenary group. Odelia was walking around Ziobai outside, waiting for her. Seeing her come out, Oglia asked, "How is it?" Si shook his head, "It's okay." Oglia frowned, "Injured?" Si continued, "Fortunately, I was prepared in advance and took a step back, otherwise blood would have splashed all over me." Oglia. Si you are worthy of being called upon. Then let's go. Odelia stretched out, "This weekend's Eternal College monthly exam, I will be accompanying the examiner. Are you interested in taking a look?" "Yes," I responded, "just in time to see how my brother is progressing." The two left. The god-killing mercenary group was destroyed today. 2 days later, the Paranormal Administration headquarters. Xia Yankai felt that she had slept for a long time, and someone was constantly calling her in her dream. She opened her eyes with some effort and saw the familiar chandelier on the ceiling. Yan Yan, Yun Fengzi said in a surprised voice, Yan Yan, you're awake. Fengzi, I. Xia Yankai's body is still a little weak, but her brain is extremely clear at the moment. She even felt that she could see things much more clearly and her thoughts were speeding up. Xia Yankai was stunned for a moment. When the people sent by the god-killing mercenary group attacked her spiritual world, her consciousness was still very clear and she could sense that her spirit was gradually collapsing. For an evolved person, the complete collapse of the spiritual world is no different than death. But why is her spiritual perception even stronger? Yan Yan, it's Miss Yu. Yun Fengzi saw her doubts and said, Miss Yu helped you reconstruct the spiritual world and said that your ability to resist the attacks of other spiritual evolvers will be stronger in the future. Xia Yankai coughed and understood, it's me who is saving you again. Yun Fengzi nodded, she was the one who found your location and told us. Okay, then I dash as if he remembered something. Xia Yankai suddenly became anxious and grabbed Yun Fengzi's arm. Wait, where is Au? That group of people said that there are people who are specifically going to kill him. Leave me alone and hurry up. Go save Au. Yan Yan, don't worry. Ching Ching and Au came together. They are fine. I'll ask them to come in. Yun Fengzi comforted her, are you still feeling unwell in any way? Xia Yankai shook his head. But some of the things she heard when she died were still impacting her cognition. The door was pushed open at this moment, and Sci-fi and Xia Yu walked in. Seeing Xia Yankai wake up, Xia Yu's heart relaxed completely. Mom. Thank you, Auntie. Sci-fi smiled and said softly, I helped you get revenge. Feng Qingyun's words made Xia Yankai's heart hit hard. She was in so much pain when she was about to die, but she didn't cry. But at this moment, she felt like she was about to cry. Xia Yankai choked up for the first time, Ching Ching, you. It's okay, Auntie Xia. Sci-fi smiled again, everyone is fine, but there is one more important thing. Auntie Xia, do you know who wants to attack you? I don't know. Xia Yankai took a deep breath, but I know the reason why they killed me, because I was the eldest daughter of the Huo family who died young. As soon as these words came out, even Sci-fi's eyes changed. Yun Fengzi was surprised, Huo family? Huo family in Free Continent. Xia Yankai repeated what the middle-aged man said. Sci-fi pondered for a moment, someone must have accidentally discovered your identity and Xia and wanted to get rid of you in advance. Xia Yankai calmed down, I did see a lot of people in Free Continent in those days. I can't tell who did it. We don't need to judge this matter. Regarding the Huo family's affairs, let them come forward naturally. Sci-fi took out his mobile phone, I know the eldest young master of the Huo family and I can trust him. Hearing this, Alliance leader Yun was startled, the eldest young master of the Huo family. Huo Yangxing. Yun Fengzi looked at him, Dad, do you know him? I don't know him, I just heard about him. Leader Yun shook his head, young master Huo Yangxing is among the younger generation of the four major families of Ye, Lu, Huo, and Yu. Why is this young master Huo Yangxing among the top 5? There are so many members of the four major families. There are nearly 100 direct members of one generation in each family. Huo Yangxing's strength is indeed very strong. Leader Yun frowned, Miss Si, can he be trusted? After all, he is from Free Continent. Of course. Si hummed, I also trust the people he trusts. Xia Yankai hesitated, but Si saw her thoughts and wrote lightly, if the Huo family can't figure out this kind of thing, there's no need for you to recognize them, and Xia. Xia Yankai nodded, Ching Ching, you are right. She has a husband and children, and her life is very good now. If Xiaoyu hadn't been sent to Eternal College, she wouldn't have gone to Free Continent. Xia Yankai's eyes were firm. Ching Ching, please contact me. On the other side, Freeland. The god-killing mercenary group is also somewhat famous in Free Continent, otherwise Yu Shuming would not have found them. Therefore, the news that the god-killing mercenary group was destroyed quickly spread throughout the Free Continent. But it was surprising at most that there was no wave afterward. It would be surprising if one day no forces in Free Continent were destroyed. The news naturally reached Huo Shiyun's ears. She was extremely frightened and immediately contacted Yu Shuming. Shiyun, it's okay. They will be killed. This is something I have thought of a long time ago, and this is my original intention. Yu Shuming's eyes flashed with a hint of sinisterness. After all, Xia Yankaiu is a member of the Supernatural Management Bureau, so there is some connection with the Evolutionary Alliance. But I didn't expect the opponent's movements to be so fast. Fortunately, I saved a hand, otherwise I would have been exposed. Although Yu Shuming had guessed this incident in advance, he was really confused about who had the ability to destroy the entire god-killing mercenary group so quickly. But it has nothing to do with him anymore. It happened that the only insider had been silenced, and no one would know that Xia Yankaiu was the eldest daughter of the Huo family, except the dead Xia Yankaiu. When Huo Shiyun heard what he said, she was completely relieved and raised a smile. The weekend is the monthly exam of Eternal College. Mom is the invigilator. I am going to accompany her. Yu Shuming nodded and warned, you must take good care of the old lady. After the call ended, Huo Shiyun went downstairs. It's breakfast time now. Huo Tianwen is sitting at the dining table, reading the newspaper and eating breakfast. Nowadays, with the rapid development of science and technology, residents have long formed the habit of going paperless, but Huo Tianwen still likes to read newspapers and books. After hearing the footsteps, he didn't raise his head, let alone Huo Shiyun. Huo Shiyun pursed her lips and forced a smile. After she called brother, she sat down in an empty seat far away from Huo Tianwen. Huo Yangxing's whole body was exuding air conditioning, and he refused to let strangers in. This breakfast was silent. Until the sound of music broke the silence. Huo Tianwen looked up from the newspaper. Yangxing, your phone rang. Good morning. Come and buy a coffin for this couple with a monthly pass. See you in the afternoon. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 695. Huo Yangxing glanced at the phone and immediately picked it up. Huo Tianwen saw his quick movements and raised his eyebrows. Could it be that this boy suitor called someone to come? Huo Yangxing felt a cold feeling on his back. He didn't have time to be confused and pressed the answer button. Hello, Sci-fi said, well, it's me. I need to confirm something with you. Is there anyone with you? Huo Yangxing's expression froze slightly, and he immediately left the living room and returned to his bedroom. After confirming that there was no one else around, he said in a low voice, there is no one now, Miss S.I., please tell me. S.I. got straight to the point, did you know that grandma you gave birth to twins? Huo Yangxing frowned, yes, my grandma did give birth to a pair of twins. One of them died in infancy, and the other was weak and did not even have the blood of an evolver. Yes, I understand, S.I. said lightly, but in fact, this dead baby is still alive. You have seen it? It is your grandma's goddaughter, Xia Yankaiu, the head of the Supernatural Bureau. Although Huo Yangxing was as calm as he was, he couldn't hold his cell phone steady after hearing such news. What's going on? S.I. recounted what happened in the past few days, and Xia has been staying in the Daxia Empire these years, and no one has come to trouble her. However, this happened when she went to Free Continent. I think that someone who is so anxious to kill her must have some stakes involved. Do you already know that? The first thing that came to Huo Yangxing's mind was Huo Shiyun's name. In addition, there were several enemies of the Huo family. He exhaled slowly and said in a cold voice, "Yes, we have it. You are ninth brother's brother. He trusts you and so do I." I fucking added, "I want to see the attitude of your Huo family on this matter." Huo Yangxing knew the seriousness of the matter, and he looked solemn. "Miss Si, please ask Huiyu to give me another copy of Anxia's DNA material." "No problem." I fucking agreed. "Also, when you find the specific person, let me know." She avenged Xia Yangkai one by one. After the call ended, Si fucking raised her eyebrows and looked at Yujian aside. "Third senior sister, don't you have anything to say?" "He called you that? Did something happen to you two during the mission?" Tsukimi was busy sorting out the mission information these days. She was very perfunctory. "I don't have time to fall in love." Si fucking sighed regretfully. She deeply doubted that Yujian could not remember Huo Yangxing's face even now. Si fucking conveyed the content of her call with Huo Yangxing to Xia Yangkaiu, thought about it, and asked softly, "And Xia, what do you think?" Xia Yangkai was at a loss for the first time. She pinched it with her fingers and said, "I don't feel much at all. I just suddenly felt a little unreal." Before, she had never thought about having anything to do with a super big family like the Huo family. She does like Mrs. Huo very much. Bloodline is a strange thing. Obviously mother and daughter were separated when they were born, but when they met for the first time after more than 40 years, they could clearly feel each other. Xia Yangkai frowned, "But how did I become the daughter of the Xia family?" This question stopped everyone. Free Continent is very far away from the Daxia Empire. More than 40 years ago, the Xia family was just emerging, and the Huo family was already one of the 4 major families in Free Continent. Even the eldest daughter of the Huo family was quietly sent to the Daxia Empire. Who has such ability? Leader Yun's face darkened. "It seems there is quite a conspiracy in this." "There's no rush," I fucking said with a steady expression. "Take care of those who need to be dealt with first." Afternoon, Free State. Huo Yangxing has been waiting at the airport for several hours. After getting the news from him, he didn't dare to neglect it for a moment. "Here, hair and blood samples have been collected." Yujian took off his sunglasses. "If your aunt really did it, where do you stand?" Huo Yangxing said calmly, "Huo Shiyun and I have no feelings." "Okay, let's go." Yujian patted him on the shoulder. "Go to more paternity testing centers, this way the evidence will be stronger." Huo Yangxing smelled the cold rose fragrance left on his coat by her fingertips. He narrowed his eyes and responded in a low voice. The two went to 4 paternity test centers respectively and got 4 paternity test certificates 2 hours later. Huo Yangxing looked at the appraisal results in his hand. "This matter is really troublesome for you." "I don't care, but Ching Ching is very angry," Yujian said lazily. "Don't look at her, she is always smiling." "I am scared when she is angry." Huo Yangxing's eyes were also cold. "I know what to do." Yujian put on his sunglasses again and waved his hand. "Let's go. See you at the same place when you're done." After separating from her, Huo Yangxing immediately went to find Mrs. Huo. At this time, Mrs. Huo had just come out of Eternal College, and Huo Shiyun went to pick her up. "Grandma, I have something to do with you." Huo Yangxing stopped the two of them directly. "You can only be here alone." As he spoke, he glanced at Huo Shiyun emphatically, with an undisguised coldness in his eyes. Huo Shiyun felt cold all over at his sight. She smiled reluctantly. The banquet, is there anything that my aunt can't hear about?" "It's not necessary, it's so mysterious." "It's okay, Shiyun, you go back first." Madame Huo also shook her head. "You can just send me back with the banquet then." Huo Shiyun was very reluctant. "Mom, I am your daughter. Why are you spoiling him? Why can't I listen? From now on, the Huo family will be hers, and even if she doesn't die, she won't be able to pass it down to Huo Yangzing's generation. Before Mrs. Huo spoke, Huo Yangzing glanced over coldly. I'm warning you, don't bother me. Grandma will pamper you, but I won't. Roll. Huo Shiyun was startled and backed away in fear. By the time she recovered from the shock, Huo Yangzing had already left with Mrs. Huo. Huo Shiyun stamped her feet and gritted her teeth. Huo Yangzing. But she only dared to curse in a low voice. She didn't even dare to fart in front of Huo Yangzing. Huo Yangzing was much more ruthless than Huo Tianwen. When he was 12 years old, Huo Shiyun found his dog noisy and threw it out of the Huo family's mansion at a time when he was not around. Later, when Huo Yangzing found out, he pulled her off the bed in the middle of the night and threw her out the door. The weather was cold and she was trapped outside all night. After returning, she fell ill with a high fever. But Huo Tianwen and Mrs. Huo only scolded Huo Yangzing on the surface. From that time on, Huo Shiyun avoided Huo Yan. Miss Shiyun, let's go back first, the guard could only persuade in a low voice. When the old lady comes back, if you want to know, just ask her. Hearing this, Huo Shiyun smiled. She snorted softly, yes, Mom loves me and will definitely tell me, let's go first. Here, Huo Yangzing took Mrs. Huo to a very secluded place. What's going on at the banquet? Mrs. Huo's expression gradually became serious. Are you anxious? Grandma, it's a very important matter. Huo Yangzing nodded slightly and said calmly, do you know why Huo Shiyun locked herself up after going for a paternity test? Mrs. Huo was stunned for a moment. Your aunt said that she saw me recognizing Yan Yan, and she was worried that I would not want her. Huo Yangzing snorted lightly, Grandma, only you believe this kind of thing, and she relies on doing misfortune every time to win your sympathy. Madame Huo paused, and sighed helplessly, why don't I know? After all, she was born in my 10th month of pregnancy, and this is about feelings. Of course she will be worried and scared, Huo Yangzing said coldly, because the paternity test she took for the paternity test was not for Grandma and you, but for Aunt Xia and you. Can she not be worried and scared when she finds out that her sister is still here? As soon as these words were spoken, Mrs. Huo stood up suddenly, her tone even unstable. Yangzing, what did you say? This is a paternity test that I went to 4 agencies to do. Huo Yangzing placed the 4 documents in front of Mrs. Huo. It won't be wrong, Grandma, look. Mrs. Huo's breathing became rapid, and her hands trembled before she opened the first paternity test. She quickly turned to the last page of identification results. According to the Identification Center, Xia Yangqiu is Fu Ruohua's biological daughter. 4 copies, exactly the same answer. Mrs. Huo stood blankly on her seat, her body trembling violently. Grandma, you read that right? Huo Yangzing said slowly, my eldest aunt is still alive. Is there any baby you want to watch the 3rd update? The comment area is still closed, please sign up for a monthly ticket and let me see how many treasures there are. If there are more than 20, I will continue to code words. I will give you 3 updates in the evening. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 696. Mrs. Huo murmured, my Yunjian is not dead, she is really not dead. The huge surprise hit her mind, making her still a little unsure. Mrs. Huo looked at these 4 identical paternity tests. She covered her mouth, tears kept flowing down, and her voice choked up, the banquet, am I not dreaming? You pinch me. Huo Yangzing was a little helpless, but he could also understand Mrs. Huo's mood. His voice was deep and strong, it's true, Grandma. These 5 words made Mrs. Huo finally burst into tears uncontrollably. Huo Yangzing remained silent and handed her a tissue at the right time. Mrs. Huo wiped away her tears and suddenly thought of something and stood up hurriedly. She moved so quickly that her whole body hit the table. Huo Yangxing's expression changed and he helped her up in time. Grandma. Banquet, banquet, I have to find her, I lost her for so long. Mrs. Huo was incoherent. For more than 40 years, I thought she was dead. I'm sorry for her. Grandma, how many people are watching the Huo family, and my aunt has just woken up, and it is difficult to move. Huo Yangxing shook his head and said in a deep voice, besides, the hidden danger has not been resolved yet. You're right, I was impulsive. Mrs. Huo gradually calmed down, and her eyes suddenly became sharper. Hidden danger. Grandma, although there are enemies in the Huo family, my eldest aunt has not been in the Huo family since she was a child. She has no interests at all, and her enemies will not spend a lot of money to kill her. Huo Yangxing said, Grandma, if you take the eldest aunt, if we take it back, who will resist the most? Mrs. Huo's hands were trembling. No need for Huo Yangxing to tell her, of course she could think of who it was. It's just that Mrs. Huo really didn't expect that Huo Shiyun would be so cruel. This is her biological sister from the same mother. Mrs. Huo closed her eyes. Okay, you go, I won't go back today. Huo Yangxing nodded. He was indeed worried that Mrs. Huo would choose to protect Huo Shiyun. Mrs. Huo was silent for a moment, and then said, I will pick her up in a few days when Yanyan is well and let her decide. After all, she is the victim, and no one can forgive others for her. Yanyan has the final say on how to deal with it. It should be so. Huo Yangxing hummed, but it was not her who planned it, but Yu Shuming. Yu Shuming, Madame Huo's voice was cold. Who the hell is he? I'll leave it to you, he can't die so easily. A door-to-door son-in-law with no status in the Huo family dares to point fingers at the Huo family's affairs. Huo Yangxing had an idea. Okay, I'll take you back to Eternal College. After coming out of Eternal College, Huo Yangxing contacted Sci-Fucking. He said, Miss Si, I have found out that from setting up the plan to hiring the god-killing mercenary group, it was all done by Yu Shuming. I found evidence that he purchased the chip for 3 billion. He, the son-in-law, has made a lot of money over the years. Free Continent has the currency of Free Continent, and these 3 billion would be worth tens of billions in the Great Xia Empire or the Western Continent. It can be seen that Yu Shuming is determined to kill Xia Yangkaiu. Yu Shuming? From the Yu family, Sci-Fucking said in a faint voice, okay, I understand. Give me this person. Do you have any objections? Huo Yangxing shook his head, no. Well, I'll contact you later if I have anything else to do. Sci-Fucking pinched his wrist and said, I'll hang up now. After the call ended, Huo Yangxing put away his mobile phone and returned to Huo's house. As soon as she saw him entering the hall, Huo Shiyun stood up immediately and kept looking back. Don't look at it. Grandma has gone back to Eternal College for business. Huo Yangxing said in a cold tone, you won't be back for the next few days. What do you want? Huo Shiyun's face suddenly fell, and she curled her lips. You and I have nothing to talk about. Since Mom won't come back, there will be nothing wrong. She turned to leave. But he couldn't move his body. Huo Yangxing put his hands behind his back and said calmly, my aunt is gone, but I do. Huo Shiyun's body stiffened. Huo Yangxing never called her aunt, he always called her by her first name. It was obviously a very affectionate name, but it made her scalp tingle and the blood in her body almost flowed backwards. Huo Yangxing said, come here, lock her up. No one can let her out without my permission. Only water, no food. Huo Shiyun suddenly raised her head and said in disbelief, you want to lock me up? Why? Huo Yangxing said nothing and just asked the guards to step forward. You are going to rebel. Huo Shiyun was shocked and angry. I am the eldest lady of the Huo family, how can you tie me up? However, the guards turned a deaf ear to her impotent rage. They only followed Huo Yangxing's order, tied up Huo Shiyun's limbs, and carried her upstairs. Huo Shiyun cried and fussed, with a sharp voice, "You are crazy. When mom comes back and sees you treating me like this, you will all die. Go away, go away." Eventually, even these sounds disappeared. Soon, the captain of the guard came down from the attic. He clasped his fists and said respectfully, "Master, it's been taken care of." Huo Yangxing nodded and let him go down. Huo Tianwen then walked in from the garden. "Is your aunt confused? You will inherit the Huo family in the future, why does she still think that she has more power than you?" "I don't think you can grasp it clearly," Huo Yangxing sneered. "I don't know where you were staring at. My eldest aunt almost died." He didn't say a word. There was no difference between Xie Yangkaiu and death. If Sci-fi was not here, Yu Shuming's plan would succeed. Huo Tianwen pinched his eyebrows. "I was negligent. I only stared at Huo Shiyun. I didn't expect that there was Yu Shuming." When he finished speaking, he looked sinister. "I'm going to catch this kid right now, and he will be cut into pieces." "You don't need to," Huo Yangxing said in a calm voice. "Someone will take care of it." Huo Tianwen was stunned. "Who? Yu Shuming belongs to the Yu family after all. If it causes trouble for them. What happened to the Yu family?" "Yu Shuming is just an inconspicuous direct descendant," Huo Yangxing said expressionlessly. "You are still the head of the Huo family. There are many people in Free Continent that you cannot afford to offend." Huo Tianwen, the Lord of the Clouds, the head of the Holy Light Judgment Institute, the Dean of the Eternal Academy, they were all people he could not afford to offend. This statement is a fact. Why is it so heartbreaking to hear it from this kid's mouth? Huo Tianwen waved his hands depressedly. Gun gun gun, don't let me see you." At night, Yu Shuming came out of the hotel, feeling quite proud of the spring breeze. The god-killing mercenary Kor and Xie Yangkaiu are both dead. Apart from him and Huo Shiyun, no one in this world will know that there is an eldest daughter of the Huo family alive in this world. Tonight's entertainment went smoothly again, and Yu Shuming's mood had never been so good. The cold wind blew, and he couldn't help but wrap up his clothes tightly. Until the next second, his eyes suddenly went dark. Someone covered him with a sack and tied the sack tightly. The thin air made Yu Shuming wake up from his wine. He broke out in a cold sweat. "Who?" No one answered him. But Yu Shuming could feel his body rising into the air and moving in one direction at an extremely fast speed. Speed evolver? What exactly is going on? Who has the guts to tie him up in broad daylight? "What do you want?" Yu Shuming's voice trembled. "If you want money, I'll have someone call you immediately. I still have 2 billion on me, give it all to you." Still no response. When Yu Shuming's fear had reached its peak, he was thrown to the ground with a bang. The sack's pockets were also opened. Yu Shuming crawled out like crazy. After climbing out, he found that he was in an abandoned warehouse. A light flashed before his eyes. Yu Shuming looked intently and found that the light was actually the light refracted from the dagger. "Ah!" He broke into a cold sweat and yelled. There was a sound, icy and cold. "Quiet." The dagger was pressed against his face, and Yu Shuming could feel the biting chill. He raised his head tremblingly and saw the man holding the dagger. It's a girl. It's absolutely stunning. The cold light on the cold blade reflected half of her face, which was bright and dim, making her outline even colder. Yu Shuming has never seen such a perfect face. It is an exaggeration to confuse all living beings. But at this moment, such a beautiful face turned out to be a murderous evil spirit. Next to the girl, there were 2 young men squatting. A young man said, "Miss Si, just give him a few knives and make him a human pig." Another young man said, "Miss Si, I think it's better to torture her slowly, not letting go of her body or mind." "That's right, Aunt Xie has been to the King of Hell's palace several times. Anyway, we can't let him die in vain. She doesn't look very good either. Huo Shiyun is incompetent and even blind." Feng San and 11 Sheng rushed to make suggestions for the bonus. Si fucking tapped her chin with one hand. Well, I think everything is good. Yu Shuming's heart grew cold little by little as he listened. No matter how stupid he was, he still realized that the three people were here to avenge Xie Yang Kaiu. The god-killing mercenary group is gone. How did these people find him? Now that he has been found, wouldn't it be known that Xie Yang Kaiu is the eldest daughter of the Huo family? What do you want to do? Who are you? Yu Shuming's fear reached the extreme, which turned into anger. He roared, do you know who I am? My surname is Yu. The four surnames Ye, Lu, Huo and Yu are absolute status symbols in Free Continent. Even if he is a descendant of the four major families, others must respect him and fear him. Because the surname does not only represent one person, but a large and ancient family. What a joke. Si fucking took the blade and patted his face again and again. The blade left a trail of blood marks on Yu Shuming's face. The deep pain in his heart made him couldn't help but let out a few screams. Si fucking smiled, I'm not even afraid of you Huixiu, do you think I will be afraid of you? The third update is coming. If you still have monthly tickets, please vote hard. Thank you for your support. Yu Huixiu, I will really thank you. Ching ching, good sisters. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 697. Jade returns to Snow. This name made Yu Shuming stunned for a moment. Immediately his expression changed and he looked horrified. You, how do you know her? Yu Shuming was frightened again. Who are you? You are not from the four major families. How could he not know the name Yu Huixiu? Yu Huixiu entered the inner courtyard of Eternal Academy at the age of 8. She graduated from the inner courtyard at the age of 14 and stayed in the secret mission team of the inner courtyard to perform unknown tasks. Not to mention that he is a direct descendant who is not ranked high in the Yu family. Even other core members find it extremely difficult to meet Yu Huixiu. Yu Shuming once had the honor to see Yu Huixiu from a distance. That was a few years ago, at the Yu family's New Year's celebration night. Yu Huixiu returned to the Yu family from Eternal College. She is a very cold woman. From top to bottom, even a strand of hair exudes a cold air that prevents strangers from entering, and the murderous aura is completely natural. It's hard to imagine how many battles she had to go through to hone her murderous aura. Yu Shuming only took one look and ran away in fright. Later he found out that this was the air that the Yu family had been cultivating. While Yu Shuming's hair stood on end, his brain was still running at high speed. Suddenly he seemed to have thought of something and shouted hysterically, are you her classmate? Yu Huixiu has no deep interaction with other members of the Yu family. She has spent much longer in Eternal College than in the Yu family. Until more than 4 years ago, she frequently returned to Yu's house without knowing what happened. 2 years ago, I officially started retreating at Yujia. Now Yu Shuming doesn't know whether Yu Huixiu has left seclusion. Si fucking lowered her eyes and looked at him, and said calmly, you're quite smart. How come you're so smart but not in the right place? Among the true geniuses, not to mention Ye Banglan, Yu Huixiu and Lu Qingning, even Huo Yangxing has always been very low-key. They are so low-key that many people in Free Continent have never seen them and don't know their real names. They only know that the four major families have a few geniuses that are rare in the world. Only incompetent people like Huo Shiyun and Yu Shuming would show off to others in a high profile. Obtaining the adulation of others can fill their empty hearts. Whatever it lacks, it makes up for, but in the face of absolute strength, it is simply vulnerable. Huge fear exploded in Yu Shuming's heart. He seemed to have lost all his strength and collapsed on the ground. This girl said that she is not even afraid of Yu Huixiu. Doesn't it mean that she can be ranked in the top 10 on the eternal list of the Eternal Academy? Yu Shuming's ears were buzzing and his thoughts were in a mess. Xia Yangkaiu is just a chief executive of the Supernatural Management Bureau. At most, he has some connections in the Evolutionary Alliance. How could he possibly interact with the geniuses of Eternal Academy? Although he has never entered Eternal College, he also knows that the top 10 students on the Eternal list can compete to be the next dean. The four giants of the Free Continent are nothing more than the Lord of the Clouds, the head of the Holy Light Judgment Institute, and the two deans of the Intercontinental Research Institute and the Eternal Academy. It's just that in recent years, a mysterious man has appeared who controls the 8 major mineral veins. The pattern of Free Continent has quietly changed. Fucking stopped talking nonsense with Yu Shuming. She played with the dagger and carelessly carved a flower on Yu Shuming's face. Then, she raised her hand casually and left 8 holes in Yu Shuming's body, located on the left and right sides of the shoulders and abdomen respectively. Ah! The bone-piercing pain made Yu Shuming let out a shrill scream. The screams made Feng San and 11 Shen go numb, and they took a few steps back in awe. But the cry couldn't last long, and it died in his throat. Yu Shuming stared, his neck was firmly held by the girl's slender white hands, and he couldn't breathe for a while. "Shh, don't shout." Fucking smiled coldly, "This injury is nothing. I won't even look at him if he falls on the ground. If it's not enough to be saved by me, it's not considered injured." Xia Yangkaiu's injuries were much more serious than this, and he almost couldn't wake up. Fucking carefully left wounds one after another on Yu Shuming's body, just as carefully as she did during the surgery. Compared with the physical pain, what made Yu Shuming almost collapse was the mental torture. It was as if needles were pricking his brain, and his eyes went black. He is actually a spiritual evolver. The pain in his head swept through his whole body, and Yu Shuming finally collapsed. He cried and laughed, wailing and begging for mercy. "I was wrong, I was wrong. Please, please give me a break, I was really wrong." Feng San was shocked when he heard this. How unbearable must this be to think of death as a relief? Fucking looked indifferent. She grabbed Yu Shuming's hair and forced him to look up. Her voice was very soft. "Don't you people just like to use your power to bully the weak? Why do you start begging for mercy when it backfires on you?" Blood emerged from Yu Shuming's throat. It was true that he liked to do this, but how could he have expected that there were people from Eternal College behind Xia Yangkaiu? If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have dared to give him 100 courages. What a coincidence. Fucking saw Yu Shuming's thoughts and smiled slightly. "I treat people like you." Boom. She let go of her hand and Yu Shuming's head hit the ground. But he did not faint. The mental pain forced him to wake up again and again. He fell to the ground, his body twitching. "Let it dry overnight and throw it to Yu's house tomorrow." Fucking stood up. "Look, you will get paid for working overtime today." Canyon's eyes suddenly lit up. "Thank you, Miss Si, Miss Si is so generous." Sure enough, he should still hug Miss C's thigh tightly. After Fucking came out of the basement, it was already 2 o'clock in the morning, but the main city of Free Continent was still brightly lit. This is a city that never sleeps. The tall man stood under the tree. He raised his hand and caught a withered leaf that had been blown down by the wind. At this time, he had more fireworks. Fucking looked dazed for a moment. She knocked her head and stepped forward. Yu Xian turned around and saw the blood on her hands. Her eyes changed instantly. Fucking noticed his gaze and explained, "Brother Ninth, it's not my blood." Yu Xian hummed lightly, "Raise your hand." Fucking raised his hand. He spread her hand and took out a white handkerchief to wipe the blood on her palm. The movements are gentle. Fucking felt the itching sensation of his fingertips on her skin and couldn't help but wince. "What are you doing? You're already clean." Is this black-hearted monster deliberately tempting her? The same thing. Yu Zion put away the handkerchief, he sighed, and hugged her whole body. I don't want you to get hurt, okay? Sci-fucking's heart moved slightly. I will be obedient. Yu Zion let go of her and glanced at her lightly. Not necessarily. Sci-fucking. She suddenly squatted down. Yu Zion paused slightly and asked in a low voice, what are you doing? I'm like a corn now and can't walk. Sci-fucking looked at him. You have to carry me on your back. Yu Zion's eyebrows moved slightly and she smiled slightly. Why did you become a plant even if you didn't drink? Having said that, he still leaned down and carried her on his back. Not long after, the girl's steady breathing came from behind. Yu Zion lowered her eyelashes and tightened her arms. She was always too tired to care about her body. It's also great to be able to act coquettishly and let him carry her. The next day, early in the morning, under the leadership of Huo Yangxing, Sci-fucking, and Huo Tianwen met for the first time. Hello, Miss Si, Huo Tianwen said with great respect, thanks to you this time. If it weren't for you, the consequences would be disastrous. Sci-fucking shook hands with him, and Xia is still at the Supernatural Management Bureau. I will bring her over after the remaining matters are dealt with. Don't worry, Miss Si, Huo Tianwen said, I am familiar with the road to the Yu family. I will take Miss Si there now. You will join us for the banquet. Sci-fucking agreed, yes, I am your guard now. Huo Yangxing. He wouldn't dare. He was afraid of being assassinated by Shi Yan. Sci-fucking changed his appearance and followed Huo Tianwen and Huo Yangxing to Yu's house. The style of the Yu family's mansion is very cold, with a bamboo forest at the entrance. Butler Jade hurried forward and welcomed the three people in. Mr. Huo, Master Huo, the head of the family is already waiting. Sci-fucking stood behind Huo Tianwen and quietly glanced at the middle-aged man sitting on the seat. She recognized this middle-aged man. He is Yu Huixu's uncle and the current head of the Yu family. She had seen him from a distance before, but there was no communication. She was an orphan picked up by Ye Banglan, and Ye Banglan and Lu Qingning were childhood sweethearts. However, including Yu Huixu, who later became acquainted with her, the three of them never talked much about their family backgrounds. No matter how good their family background is, it is just the icing on the cake for them. They themselves are the most powerful force. The Yu family is one of the four major families, and Sci-fucking was also very cautious and did not release his mental power to find traces of Yu Huixu. But according to Yu Huixu's habits, she must be in retreat at this time. Sci-fucking clicked her tongue. If she hadn't died once, she would probably have been fighting Yu Huixu until now. What brought Brother Huo here? The head of the Yu family stood up. If Brother Huo needs anything, just tell me and I will help if I can. In the past 2 years, the Yu family has been in decline, and the Huo family is a family with explosive fighting power. The Yu family is still weaker than the Huo family. Brother Yu, you're welcome. It's nothing serious. Huo Tianwen smiled lightly, it's just that a direct descendant of the Yu family was killed. Come here and tell Brother Yu specifically. When the head of the Yu family heard this, his expression changed and his face darkened. What do you mean, Brother Huo? Huo Tianwen didn't answer, but clapped his hands. Bring it up. Immediately, guards dragged up the inhuman-looking Yu Shuming. The head of the Yu family was stunned, and finally recognized Yu Shuming. Isn't Yu Shuming Huo Tianwen's brother-in-law? Huo Tianwen pointed at Yu Shuming and said, he wants to kill my sister, and I want his life. The head of the Yu family was shocked. He wants to kill Shiyun. It's Yun Jian. Huo Tianwen looked calm, the real eldest lady of the Huo family. The first thing I say when I get up in the morning is to vote for Qing Qing and me by voting for the month. It's so uncomfortable to be closed. I don't know how many times I scored T. My inspiration has been squeezed out. There are still several large-scale exams and papers to prepare for. I get up at 5 o'clock every day to type, and I am mentally exhausted. There are still 7 or 8,000 updates recently. Don't say that I haven't updated properly. I am not full-time and I have my own job. When it comes to finishing the work, I would rather slow down than write nonsense and mess up the quality. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 698. Yun Jian. This name confused Master Yu for a moment, but his expression changed in an instant. Didn't the old lady's eldest daughter die as soon as she was born? Mrs. Huo gave birth to a pair of twins, one died and the other was disabled, and she herself suffered severe trauma. At that time, many people in Free Continent were speculating whether the Huo family would be ruined because of this. Fortunately, there was still Huo Yangxing. Huo Tianwen did not answer, but just smiled. I'm lucky to have found Yun Jian. I just came here today to discuss with brother Yu how to deal with this adopted son-in-law. The head of the Yu family had no mercy for Yu Shuming at this moment. He was extremely angry. Brother Huo, if he does such a thing, naturally he can't let it go. I suggest that the Holy Light Judgment Office take him into custody and send him to the eternal prison. Yu Shuming, who was originally unconscious, suddenly woke up when he heard this term. While he was vomiting blood intermittently, he struggled to stretch out his hand and said desperately, "Family, head of the family, I don't want. Where is the eternal prison? Once you go in, don't even think about coming out. It's truly a life worse than death." Huo Tianwen nodded slightly. Brother Yu and I have the same opinion, so it will be hard for brother Yu to send the son-in-law to the eternal prison now. You're welcome. I didn't do anything, the head of the Yu family said hurriedly. When Miss Yunjian comes back, I will definitely go to the Huo family to welcome her with a heavy gift. The two exchanged a few more polite words before Huo Tianwen left the hall with Huo Yangxing and Si fucking. The eternal prison contains all felons, Huo Tianwen explained. I heard that it was a very strange punishment developed by the head of the Holy Light Judgment Institute. Anyway, it is much more terrifying than the Black Room of Silence. Si fucking nodded. Of course she knew about the eternal prison, and once she followed her senior brother there. The three of them were walking when a sharp sound suddenly came from them. Who? Si fucking narrowed his eyes and raised his head, only to realize that she had unconsciously walked to the place where Yu Huixiu used to retreat. In front of the garden was a group of guards. After seeing them, they all clenched their weapons. This is a forbidden area, the guard's expression was cold. Those who trespass on the forbidden area will die. Sorry, Huo Tianwen took a step back. No offense intended, let's leave now. The guard's voice softened. It turned out to be Mr. Huo, who was offended. Miss Si, you can't go there. Huo Tianwen took a look and said in a low voice, that's the retreat place of a young lady from the Yu family. Even the head of the Yu family and the elders can't go in without her permission. Si fucking raised an eyebrow. Uncle Huo, can you tell me more? If you want to talk about Miss Yu, she is really powerful. Huo Tianwen sighed. Yangxing's combat effectiveness is already very strong, but it is still not as good as this Miss Yu's. It happened a long time ago. Yangxing was challenged by her in the Eternal Academy, but she lost in the end. I laughed for a long time. Huo Yangxing's expression was a little ugly, and he accepted his fate and said, yes. Si fucking comforted him in turn. You should think so. If she can date you, your strength must have caught her eye, otherwise she wouldn't be looking for you. Huo Yangxing's face turned even darker. Afterwards, Yu Huixiu did not look for him again, which meant that there was nothing to fight with him. The three of them left Yu's house. Huo Tianwen asked with concern, where is Miss Si going? I'll see you off. No need. Si fucking squatted on the ground and poked the ants, waving lazily with one hand. Someone is coming to pick me up, you go first. Huo Tianwen was worried, so he still stood aside and waited. 10 minutes later, a car stopped on the side of the road. The car door opened, a hand stretched out, and took the girl into the passenger seat. Every move he makes is gentle, considerate, and elegant. Huo Tianwen didn't see the appearance of the people in the car, but he could feel a sudden pressure. Although this coercion is fleeting, it makes people's bodies stiff for a moment. Huo Tianwen couldn't help but wonder, could it be that the giants from Free Continent were sitting in this car? Otherwise, why would it put so much pressure on him? After Sci-Fi left in the car, Huo Tianwen and Huo Yangxing also returned to Huo's house. The housekeeper asked the servant to prepare lunch. Huo Tianwen sat at the dining table and suddenly said, "I think Miss Si and Au look quite similar. It would be great if your eldest aunt had given birth to a daughter back then. This way you will have a sister, and I will have a niece." After saying that, Huo Tianwen sighed, "Miss Si is really lovable, why isn't she your sister? Girls are still cute and well behaved. The brat will only make him angry, not a considerate little cotton-padded jacket." Huo Yangxing was surprised for the first time, "Are you worthy?" Huo Tianwen. "Someone give him a brick and let him beat this brat to death." Huo Tianwen angrily smashed the dining table to pieces, "Get out." Huo Yangxing was very decisive. He stood up and said, "Okay, let's go to work." After he left, Huo Tianwen snorted, "You're still working? I'm so serious about you. I didn't know you were chasing a girl." He turned around and told the butler, "Get ready. Miss Yunjian's reception banquet must be hosted in a grand manner." The housekeeper was also very excited, yes, the head of the family. One day later, Xia Yangkai's body had fully recovered. Mrs. Huo made a special trip to apply for leave from Eternal College. The reason for applying was that she had been depressed these days and planned to go to the Great Xia Empire to relax. She was originally going to return to Eternal College to take a temporary position after retirement and was not responsible for any important matters. Naturally, the dean approved it happily. At this moment, the Huo family has the highest attic. There are 2 guards guarding the outside of the attic. No matter how the attic door shook, the 2 guards remained deaf to it. "Open the door," Huo Shiyun knocked on the door desperately, with a cry in her voice, "What on earth do you want to do? Open the door quickly." Huo Yangxing. "No matter what, you are my junior, you are disrespectful and unfilial to me. Aren't you just bullying me while mom is away? How dare you do this if she were here? If this matter spreads, you will only get a vicious reputation." Huo Shiyun has been detained for 2 days and 1 night. These 2 days and 1 night were unprecedentedly long to her. And it was true as Huo Yangxing said, no matter how she screamed or threw things, the guards guarding her only gave her water. Huo Shiyun had no doubt that Huo Yangxing really wanted her to die in the attic. Her nephew had been cold and cruel since he was a child, and Huo Tianwen couldn't control him. Huo Shiyun patted the door for a long time, but there was still no movement outside. She spent a lot of strength, and her hand finally slid down the gate unwillingly. Huo Shiyun collapsed on the ground, almost crying in despair. At this time, she missed Mrs. Huo very much, and she didn't understand what Huo Yangxing had done to prevent Mrs. Huo from returning to the Huo family for so long. Huo Shiyun made up her mind. When Mrs. Huo came back, she would make a good complaint and let Huo Yangxing try the feeling of being locked up no matter what. She was tired and had no food to replenish energy, so she could only drink water. I don't know how much time passed before the guard's respectful voice sounded outside the door, "Master." Huo Yangxing raised his chin and said calmly, "Open the door." The guard then opened the door. As light poured in, Huo Shiyun suddenly raised her head. She stared at Huo Yangxing, her voice forced out from between her teeth, "What? After being scolded by your grandma, you finally let me out? I'm telling you, even if you let me out, I won't make it easy for you." She struggled to stand up and looked back, but she didn't see Mrs. Huo. Huo Shiyun was stunned. Could it be that Huo Yangxing's conscience found out and he took the initiative to let her go? Stop looking. Huo Yangxing slowly raised his head, his expression calm. Grandma is going to the Great Xia Empire to pick up my eldest aunt. Until then, you can continue to stay here. Under Huo Shiyun's gradually shattering eyes, he slowly said, by the way, Yu Shuming has been imprisoned in the eternal prison. Do you want to go in and take a look around? Tired of getting tired, the update will continue. Darlings, don't stop voting for your monthly tickets, every vote is important to Ching Ching. Si cute and cute fellow, Ovo. See you tomorrow. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Ching Qian. Chapter 699. No resident of the free continent would be unaware of the eternal prison. Everyone who went in was still alive, but they might as well be dead. Only those who have committed serious crimes will be imprisoned in the eternal prison after passing the judgment of the Holy Light Judgment Office. In an instant, Huo Shiyun thought of something that made her whole body shiver. The Huo family already knew Xia Yangkai's true identity and found out everything Yu Shuming had done. No wonder Mrs. Huo hasn't returned to Huo's house in the past few days. Huo Yangxing's actions may even be her tacit instructions. Huo Shiyun's face turned pale instantly. Her body was trembling, and layers of cold sweat broke out on her back. Over the years, she has become accustomed to being favored and arrogant. As long as her request is not too outrageous, Mrs. Huo will satisfy her. But once the interests of the Huo family and other people in the Huo family are involved, she has no privileges. Not to mention, compared to Huo Yunjian, who had long been presumed dead, she couldn't even sell her misery in front of Mrs. Huo. Even if she came out with a disease from her mother's body and had no evolutionary bloodline, she could not compare to Xia Yangkai, who had been missing for more than 40 years and almost died once. Huo Shiyun's mind was confused. Didn't Yu Shuming say that Xia Yangkai was dead? Are all the insiders gone? How so? Until Grandma brings my eldest aunt back, you have no choice but to stay here. Huo Yangxing looked calmly and ordered the guard, give her a meal. Don't lose your strength by then and look ugly. After saying that, Huo Yangxing turned around. It's not me, Huo Shiyun finally reacted and screamed hysterically, it has nothing to do with me. I haven't left home at all these days. It's all done by Yu Shuming alone. It has nothing to do with me. Huo Yangxing ignored it. He waved his hand and asked the guards to close the attic door again and keep a tight watch on it. Daxia Empire. This is the first time Mrs. Huo has set foot on this vast land, but she feels a sense of intimacy. Free continent was discovered later than other continents, dating back thousands of years, and the Huo family was also a part of Daxia. I am even more timid when I am close to my hometown. Mrs. Huo was very anxious and led by the guards of the Supernatural Management Bureau to the place where Xia Yangkai was recuperating. When we meet again, our identities and feelings are completely different. Xia Yangkai is now fully able to move around in the ground. After seeing Mrs. Huo, she fell silent, not knowing how to speak. Mrs. Huo was also a little cautious. Yan Yan, I. Xia Yangkai adjusted his position, spoke before her, and called her very softly, Mom. There was a word difference between godmother and mother, but Mrs. Huo was shocked. Xia Yangkai took a step forward, hugged her, and called out again, Mom. Yan Yan, it's all my fault that mother didn't find you in time. Mrs. Huo burst into tears, it's all my fault that you got these injuries. I don't even have the shame to come see you. Xia Yangkai smiled, how could this be your fault? Who else would drag others to do a paternity test except for those who have evil intentions? She held Mrs. Huo's hand and said softly, this is not your fault. You are also a victim. Don't blame yourself. I will feel uncomfortable too. Hearing what she said, Mrs. Huo shed more tears, okay, okay. Xia Yangkai did not grow up in Free Continent, but still developed such a good temper. This is her blessing. On the side, Leader Yun finally spoke. Mrs. Huo, although Yan Yan is a member of the Huo family, the Supernatural Management Bureau will always be her home. Neither Fengzi nor I want to see her be wronged again after returning to the Huo family. Knowing that Xia Yangkai was seriously injured and dying was actually related to Huo Shiyun, Alliance leader Yun was shocked and angry. They are obviously biological sisters, how could they have such vicious hearts? Mr. Yun, don't worry about this, and I also respect Yan Yan's wishes. She can be wherever she wants. I won't trap her. In fact, Free Continent. Mrs. Huo sighed, it's nothing. It's a good place, it's better for Yan Yan to stay in the Daxia Empire. Hearing these words, Alliance leader Yun was a little surprised at first, and then understood. Xia Yangkai had always been safe and sound in the Great Xia Empire, but after a trip to Free Continent, he suffered a terrible disaster. Mrs. Huo was also afraid. More importantly, it is still unclear who secretly replaced the Huo family's children. The Huo family is still working hard to investigate this matter. But Yan Yan, Au is also the young master of the Huo family, so we still need to prove his identity. Mrs. Huo said, he is studying in Eternal College, and the college is even more chaotic. His talent is extremely good, so it is inevitable that he will not be able to survive. Some people will be jealous. But it would be different if the Huo family stood behind Xiaoyu. Before the students of Eternal Academy touch him, they must consider whether they have the strength to fight against the Huo family. Xia Yangkai indeed valued Xiaoyu more than himself. Then please, Mom, please take more care of this boy. This boy's face is so good that sometimes it becomes a fault. Xiaoyu looks handsome, but also has a laid-back energy and a lazy look. When she accompanied him out of Eternal Academy, she heard several female students saying that they wanted to keep him. Xia Yangkai was numb and heartbroken. I can't figure out why Xiaoyu has such a face. Don't worry about this. I am one of the guest elders of Eternal College. Mrs. Huo nodded slightly. As long as I am here, no one in Eternal College dares to touch him. In this way, Xia Yangkai can also breathe a sigh of relief. She smiled again. Then I will go back with you. I have many duties here in Daxia, but when I am free, I will go to Free Continent to see you. Mrs. Huo frowned, and after a few seconds, she slowly said, in this way, I will allocate some manpower to the Supernatural Management Bureau, and you can feel more relaxed. If what happened last time happens again, Yan Yan, you won't be alone. Xia Yangkai was stunned. Mom, you. That's it. Mrs. Huo made the final decision. Mr. Yun said that you have been traveling all these years, and I, a mother, must help you no matter what. Xia Yangkai did not refuse and responded with a smile. The evolvers of the Huo family have been systematically trained, and their overall strength is naturally far superior to the evolvers of the Supernatural Administration. Leader Yun also clasped his fists. Thank you so much, madam. The family had a great time chatting. Outside the bedroom. After the dust settled, Si stretched out, Brother Ninth, let's go. Yuzian raised her hand, straightened her hair that was messed up by the wind, and smiled softly, so happy. Si blinked, of course, you have done another good thing and gained me some virtue. Yeah, Yuzian rubbed her head, where are you going? Dongzhou, the crew went to look for the historical traces left by the Ji family. Si sighed, the workers are starting to work again. He smiled lightly, my boyfriend who works as a worker also has to work hard to make money. Si pointed at him, don't force me to hate the rich. No, he lowered his head, rubbed her face gently, and smiled slightly, I'll give it all to you. Si No, the enemy launched another sound and beauty attack, and we were beaten to the base camp. Yuzian flew Si to Dongzhou. The Historic Relics program team is taking a break. Ning Ning Si fucking stepped forward and hugged Zhang Changning. We haven't seen you for a few days, and your figure has improved a lot. Zhang Changning said expressionlessly, be normal. Si fucking was confident and looked lazily at the camera. Is there anything wrong with liking beautiful girls? Yes, yes, I like it too. And maybe, mix us, I'm gonna give you sweets. Sisters, recently there is a cult CP called Selfish Desire, who wants to compete with us for the top spot on the list. Ah, what should I do if I am embarrassed? My wife is loved by everyone, so what if she has more CP? Beg. What is selfish CP? The director was delighted. When Si fucking was invited, half of the entertainment industry was invited directly, so there was no need to worry about the popularity. On the other side, seeing this scene, Byungzi pursed her lower lip. She originally wanted to find another opportunity to send her people to Uzion, but she didn't expect that Si fucking would disappear for a week. It was just a matter of disappearing, Byungzi thought, so the program team should give her the camera. What she never expected was that Si fucking actually called the brother and sister Zhang Changfeng and Zhang Changning. As a result, she has once again become a foil these days. But when Si fucking came back, her chance came. Byungzi lowered his head and pretended not to care about anything. The next day, Free State. This was Xie Yangkai's first visit to the Huo family, but she was not reserved and greeted others naturally. Leader Yun and Yun Fengzi were also worried that Xie Yangkai would be targeted by other members of the Huo family, so they guarded her. Fortunately, the Huo family has always been tightly managed and has a tough style from top to bottom. Seeing Xie Yangkai, Butler Huo's eyes lit up and he immediately stepped forward. Miss Yunjian, the head of the family and young Master Yangxing have been talking about you for a long time. Welcome you back. Before Xie Yangkai could speak, Mrs. Huo said, this is Miss Yangkai. Yan Yan will not change her name. Butler Huo was stunned for a moment, then immediately responded, Miss Yangkai. Huo Tianwen had been waiting all morning, and when he saw Xie Yangkai, he came over immediately. Miss Xie, no, Yangkai. Huo Tianwen felt a little embarrassed. I am actually you're. He talked for a long time without even uttering a complete sentence, and suddenly he was scratching his head anxiously. Huo Yangxing pinched his eyebrows and turned his head, choosing not to watch the scene. Xie Yangkai was very happy. I know, you are my eldest brother. Yes, Huo Tianwen high-fived and said with joy, Yan Yan, welcome back, tell me anything you need. When the group went in, Butler Huo thoughtfully prepared hot milk for Xie Yangkai. Huo Tianwen said, bring people out of the attic. The guard responded and brought Huo Shiyun down, who had been imprisoned for 4 days. Mrs. Huo grasped the handle of the seat tightly and took a deep breath. Kneel down. Huo Tianwen showed no mercy. He raised his foot and kicked Huo Shiyun's knee. Good morning. My best friend was also banned from school. Okay, she is indeed a sister in trouble. She is going crazy preparing lessons. You have to know that teachers don't want to attend class more than students. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 700. With a plop, Huo Shiyun knelt on the ground uncontrollably. She was in pain and burst into tears. Huo Shiyun looked at Mrs. Huo with red eyes, pitiful, and she choked out, Mom. But this time, Mrs. Huo was not moved by this. She closed her eyes and said in a cold voice, Huo Shiyun, since you know that Yangkai is your biological sister, you should tell me and brother you instead of Dash. Mrs. Huo's tone suddenly increased, and she pressed all the energy towards Huo Shiyun with her huge amount of evolver energy. Puff. Huo Shiyun suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was as pale as paper, and her internal organs were shocked at this moment. Mrs. Huo said angrily, "Instead of finding a mercenary group to kill your sister, why are you so worried that she will come back and threaten your status?" "Mom. It's really not me, it's not me," Huo Shiyun cried heartbreakingly. "I admit that I knew my sister's identity earlier than you, but I definitely had no intention of harming her. The shock I received was too great for me to accept. I really didn't expect Yu Shuming to go so far. I had no idea what he did. Mom, you must believe me." Huo Shiyun climbed up on her hands and knees. Sister, I didn't expect that Yu Shuming would attack you. I have been shutting myself at home. I really don't know, sister. Sister, if I knew, I would rather get hurt than lose a hair on your head." She said it so sincerely that even she believed it. The second time he met Huo Shiyun, Xia Yangqiu still had no feelings. She nodded and said in a cold voice, "Okay." Huo Shiyun was stunned. "Sister." Xia Yangqiu smiled slightly. "After all, there is never any empathy in this world, unless you experience it yourself." "That's right." Huo Tianwen glanced at Huo Shiyun coldly. "You can't go to the eternal prison with your body. The silent black room is very suitable for you. I will apply to the Holy Light Judgment Office to send you in for a while." Huo Shiyun screamed in disbelief, "Brother!" Even some evolvers went crazy after coming out of the black room of silence. How could she bear it? Huo Tianwen was unmoved. "Mom." Huo Shiyun could only turn to Mrs. Huo for help. "Mom, I really know that I was wrong, but I didn't know. I can't go to the silent black room, I will die." Mrs. Huo's fingers trembled, but she finally said, "If you are wrong, you are wrong, and you must accept punishment. Since you are so worried that Yan Yan threatens your status, I will announce Yan Yan's identity to the entire free continent during the time when you enter the silent black room. When you come out, you'll get used to it." Huo Shiyun's face turned even paler. She doesn't want this habit. She knows better than anyone that she is actually surrounded by a bunch of people who act according to the prevailing circumstances. Once Xia Yangqiu's identity is announced, will anyone come to please her? This is worse than killing her. "Come here." Huo Tianwen ordered the housekeeper, "Confiscate all her electronic devices and send them to the Holy Light Judgment Office. Before going to the silent black room, let the Holy Light Judgment Office give her an A-level punishment. Just don't die." Just like there is no filial son before a long-term illness, Huo Shiyun had been doing this for more than 40 years and almost killed Xia Yangqiu. Huo Tianwen had already grown disgusted with her. Xia Yangqiu stood up and pinched his wrist. "I'll send her there." Of course Huo Tianwen would not refuse. "Okay." Mrs. Huo was exhausted physically and mentally, and did not look at Huo Shiyun's sad expression, so she went upstairs accompanied by Huo Yangxing. Xia Yangqiu grabbed Huo Shiyun's shoulder with one hand. "Stop looking and let's go." Everyone else left. Huo Shiyun looked at Xia Yangqiu. "I really don't welcome you back, but it's just because you have been missing for so many years that my mother is biased toward you. Look at what you said, as if I need the Huo family very much." Xia Yangqiu was not angry, but said with a smile, "When I leave the Huo family, I will still be the leader of the Spiritual Alliance, and I will still be a combat type A-level evolver. My son is a transcendent A-grade evolutionary and a member of the inner court of Eternal Academy. He has a good-looking face. No matter how bad things get in the future, he can use his face to coax a girl back." Xia Yangqiu said calmly, "But you are different. If you leave the Huo family, who are you?" One sentence after another, they all stabbed Huo Shiyun's heart. From her own strength to her offspring, there is nothing she can do better than Xia Yangqiu. Completely crushed, Huo Shiyun was so humiliated that her face turned pale. She never thought that things would turn out like this one day. Why did Xia Yangkaiu come back? Huo Shiyun screamed hysterically, "It's all you. It was you who robbed my nutrients from my mother's body. If it weren't for you, how could I not have the evolutionary bloodline? It must be because you took away my bloodline. Don't you feel any shame at all? It was you who hurt me." Xia Yangkaiu snorted lightly, "Then it seems that you have been a waste since you were a child. You are a waste, your son is a waste, and your husband is a waste." Xia Yangkaiu never bothered to do such things as being miserable. She would never speak if she could use her fists. These words made Huo Shiyun unbearable. She screamed again and wanted to rush forward, but Xia Yangkaiu held her down tightly. She could only let the cavalry of the Holy Light Judgment Office take her away. The Huo family's side. Huo Tianwen took 2 sips of tea and suddenly put it down. "I always feel that something is wrong. Someone can quietly replace Xia Yangkaiu, and naturally he has the means to replace another one. Although until now, Huo Tianwen still doesn't know who did this and why he did it. But Huo Shiyun is indeed unlike anyone in the Huo family. Xia Yangkaiu's behavior was inherited from the Huo family. After Xia Yangkaiu appeared, Huo Tianwen became more and more suspicious of Huo Shiyun. Huo Tianwen thought for a moment and said, "Go and get samples from your grandma and Huo Shiyun, and go to several more paternity testing centers." Huo Yangxing nodded, "Okay, I'll do it right now." On the other side, the Historical Relics Program Team. The program team arrived at Fuzhou City, the capital city of Dongzhou. It is said that Fuzhang Mountain, one of the 5 dragon veins of Daxia, is also here. Emperor Yin indeed left many footprints, and wherever the program crew walked, his presence was evident. Sci-fi still carried Emperor Yin's ashes with her. She reached out and squeezed the sachet and sighed softly. "Everyone, please pay attention. This is the place that the Ji family has always guarded. The Ji family is a family of yin and yang. Our ancestors once had an Onmyoji who single-handedly forced back an army of 100,000 people." The director clapped his hands and said, "If you are lucky, everyone, if so, you might meet a real Onmyoji and ask them to help you tell your fortune. There are indeed many rumors about Onmyoji, but these strange people are rarely seen in recent years." In the team, Zhang Qiang curled her lips, "Where can there be a real Onmyoji?" People walking along the road didn't know what they saw, and the director's eyes suddenly lit up. He immediately called to the photographer, "Quick, have you seen that little brother? I suspect he is a member of the Ji family." The photographer hurriedly stepped forward with photography equipment, and a figure also appeared in the lens. Zhang Changfeng frowned and said, "Why is he dressed like a magician?" After hearing this, Si raised his eyes and looked over. Ji Xingzi wore an Onmyoji robe, sunglasses, and waved a folding fan. There is also written on the folding fan, "The 62nd eldest son of the Ji family, the best yin and yang hexagram in the world." Si face was expressionless. She pretended that she didn't know Ji Xingzi, this stupid guy. Zhang Qiang was very unhappy. "Director, how can there be an Onmyoji? We are in the high-tech era now, and this kind of ignorant thing should have been eradicated long ago. If it's really an Onmyoji, he must be able to observe physical phenomena. And which descendant of the Ji family would directly say that he is one? That's a lie. Is Zhang Qiang sick? Speaking of Onmyoji in the Ji family's territory, aren't you afraid that someone will look for you at night? Onmyoji does exist. Without Onmyoji, Dongzhou would no longer exist. Zhang Qiang is a 9-leaved fish, right? Have you studied history in junior high school?" Ji Xingzi glanced at Zhang Qiang and said slowly, "Wait a moment." He took out an umbrella from the drawer, opened it and held it over his head. Si saw his move and immediately pulled Zhang Changning to the eaves next to him. Zhang Changfeng was startled for a moment, then walked over quickly. "Is it going to rain?" He knew this very well. Once he and Ji Xingzi finished playing a game and just came out of the internet cafe when he saw Ji Xingzi suddenly take out an umbrella after taking 2 steps. Then the clear sky turned dark clouds and the rain poured down. Sure enough, Ji Xingzi spoke again, "You guys should find a place to take shelter from the rain first." Zhang Qiang laughed, "Why is it raining? It's cloudless in broad daylight dash." Before she could finish her words, suddenly a large dark cloud came over. Crash dash. The heavy rain suddenly fell from the sky, drenching Zhang Qiang to the core. The director wiped the rain off his face, feeling a little desperate. "Holy shit, is this the Ji family? I have met the living Ji family. Oh, this guy looks really good, but his posture is not very good. I heard that Onmyoji can observe the sky and read faces. The ancestor of the Ji family was a big help to Emperor Yin at that time. Have you noticed that when this little guy was holding an umbrella, baby Ching Ching had the foresight to pull Ning Ning to take shelter from the rain? Is it possible? Byungzi has been paying attention to Si fucking. In the entire crew, only Si fucking and 3 others were not wedded." Byungzi wiped the rain from her face. She wanted more shots, but her desire for warmth still defeated her fear. She smiled and said, "Is it possible that Mr. Si also knows how to observe the sky? Does he know it's going to rain?" "No," Si fucking said nonchalantly, "but I understand my little brother's style. If he holds an umbrella, it will rain within 5 seconds. You don't have to worry about being tongue-tied when you talk big." Zhang Qiang was caught in the rain and was already furious. When she heard this, she laughed angrily, "Return to my younger brother. Then call him younger brother and see if he responds." To some extent, Ji Xingzi and Wu should have something in common. 2333. See you tomorrow. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 701. As soon as Zhang Qiang said these words, the whole audience was silent for a moment. Byungzi also didn't expect that she would embarrass Si fucking so directly. But this matter has nothing to do with her. In the final analysis, Si fucking was talking nonsense, saying that the young master of the Ji family was her younger brother. At this time, no one doubted Ji Xingzi's identity. After all, he said it would rain and it rained a few seconds later. "The person is right there." Zhang Qiang raised her chin. "You said he was your little brother, didn't you just wave and he came over?" When the producer heard this, he suddenly became angry. He dropped the script in his hand, and without caring about saving face for Zhang Qiang during the live broadcast, he immediately stepped forward and pulled her off. The director raised his hand and grabbed him quickly. "Old Lu, just watch. My teacher said that Miss Si has many abilities. She is like a piece of 1,000-layer cake. If you shake it, anything will fall off. We have to let her shake. The show will be interesting if she shakes." Producer. What a magical description. Could it be that director Qin suffered some special torture? The director even said very leisurely, "Anyway, just watch." The producer had no choice but to sit back again, his brows furrowed tightly. Zhang Qiang really doesn't have an eye for this. Teacher C's position is much higher than hers. After filming this part, she won't have to record it later. The director nodded. For Si fucking, what benefits can he get besides getting himself into trouble? Netizens who watched the live broadcast were also shocked. The eldest young master of the Ji family is your younger brother. Why didn't you say that you knew the ancestors of the Ji family? The bragging started again, and I found that the only bad thing about Si fucking was that he talked big words every day. He's in front. Since when did my wife lie? What she said was true. Although she doesn't want to admit it, every time she says something that seems false and empty, it's eventually proven true. The live broadcast continued, and the downpour did not last long, only falling for 5 minutes. Pedestrians hurriedly took shelter from the rain, but Ji Xingzi was the only one who was very leisurely. Zhang Qiang snorted and said, If you don't know me, don't talk nonsense. Do you think people will take care of you? Sci raised his eyes and finally looked at her. Her face was also exposed to the air. Ji Xingzi saw it and his eyes suddenly lit up. He immediately closed his umbrella and ran over with a folding fan. The shout was full of energy and the words were spoken in a clear and round tone. Brother! Hey, big brother, what a coincidence. You want to set up a stall here too? You have to leave me some means of making ends meet. Sci. If she had known Ji Xingzi's personality at first, she would have refused to get to know him. Sci. Don't worry, I can't. That's right, Ji Xingzi said, after all, brother you. He finally noticed the cameras and the director around him, all looking directly at him. Ji Xingzi immediately stopped speaking, swallowed back the word yawu, and changed the topic. After all, the eldest brother is my eldest brother, he has to protect me. Why are you trying to steal business from me? As soon as he said these words, the whole place fell silent. The barrage was also cleared instantly, with only a few exclamation marks passing by. All I can say is shit. Really, my little brother? Wait, what does this little brother mean? Baby Ching Ching can also look at faces and stars. The program team is looking for someone to act in order to praise Sci. In fact, predicting rain is not a big deal, there are modern instruments that can read cloud images. It's so funny that you, Sister Si, still want to praise me. Are you so blind that you can't see her achievements? Are the directors and crew stupid for not watching? I am in Dongzhou. I can confirm that the weather station did not issue a rain notice today. The clouds came suddenly. Zhang Qiang's impact at the scene was much greater than that of netizens across a screen. She saw that Ji Xingzi, who looked like a master just now, turned into an Urha with a wagging tail in front of Sci. She was stunned, her blood flowed backwards, her head was congested, and her face suddenly turned red. Byungzi is also extremely incredible. She watched the road show of the female general of the kingdom and knew that Sci. And the head of the Mo family knew each other. But unlike the Mo family, the Ji family has always been active in the public eye. How did Sci. Do it? Sci. Smiled, you are dead. Ji Xingzi. Director, please continue. Sci. Waved his hand, I'm going to go shopping and have something to talk to everyone. Watching Sci. Leave, the producer took a deep breath and turned his head. You're right, Miss Si needs to shake off a bit for this show to be good. After he finished speaking, he saw that the director's eyes were blank, and he was surprised. What's wrong with you? The director stayed for a while, tremblingly, took out a pill from his pocket and took it. I want to go to my teacher for advice. He really wanted to know how Director Qin's heart became so strong. Here, Sci. Followed Ji Xingzi to Ji's house. The Ji family is actually located in the capital city of Dongzhou, and the appearance of the mansion is also very simple. It is impossible to connect this seemingly shabby mansion with the Ji family that has been passed down for thousands of years. But after entering, there is a different world. Ji Xingzi's eyebrows were filled with excitement. Brother, this is the formation set up by my ancestor Chun Yuan, called Mirror Flowers and Water Moon. What you see may not be true, and what you hear may not be true. It can defend and trap people. I am not exaggerating. The Ji family is definitely one of the safest places in the Daxia Empire. Sci. Nodded slightly. She knew the flower in the mirror, water, and moon formation, and she once had the honor of hearing Ji Chunyuan describe it to Emperor Yin. Ji Chunyuan is worthy of being the most powerful onmyoji in the world, and even now, 1500 years later, this formation still protects the Ji family. Ji Xingzi's expression became a little more lonely, but ancestor Chunyuan also left a prophecy, saying that the Ji family may not survive the end of the year, and maybe one day, brother, you won't be able to see me. The Ji family avoids the world in order to avoid this prophecy. After all, none of the predictions left by Ji Chunyuan have been fulfilled. The most famous one is the bloody fact that the 9 sons of the Zhang family have left, and no one has returned them. The end of the year, Si fucking frowned, isn't there not even half a month left? Ji Xingzi said, yes, Grandpa is worried about this matter. The two entered the back room, where Mr. Ji sat cross-legged and watched the stars. After a while, he opened his eyes and let out a long sigh. Ji Xingzi stepped forward. Old man, how is the situation? It's not good. Mr. Ji's voice was deep. Yinghuo Shaoxin, 3 stars, is a bad omen. In the horoscope, only Yinghuo Shaoxin is the most evil. There was a period of time in history when Yinghuo Shaoxin appeared, and without exception, an emperor fell or a war broke out. Whether in the Daxia Empire, Dongzhang and Western continent, the star Yinghuo is considered to represent the word death. Ji Xingzi's expression gradually became serious. Is there no way to solve it? No. Mr. Ji shook his head. Yinghuo Shaoxin has appeared a total of 38 times in history, and none of them can be broken. Hearing these words, Si fucking's heart sank. She also saw Yinghuo Shaoxin with her own eyes. Just a few days before Emperor Yin died. Miss Si, only then did Mr. Ji see Si fucking. He quickly stepped forward and was pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect this kid to invite you here. I have an unkind invitation. Si fucking nodded. Mr. Ji, please speak. Mr. Ji was very satisfied with this title. He said slowly, there have been frequent movements in the Dongling Sea recently. The fishermen are bringing dead fish into their nets, and there are also large whales that have been stranded. This must be one of the signs of Yinghuo Shaoxin. I would like to ask Miss Si to stay in Dongzhou for a while. After all, there is a door to the dead under the Dongling Sea. If it is opened again, the consequences will be disastrous. Okay, Si fucking said calmly, I will be fine until the end of the year and will stay here. Then I'll trouble Miss Si. Mr. Ji breathed a sigh of relief, raised his foot and kicked Ji Xingzi on the butt. You brat, go and arrange a room for your elder brother. Ji Xingzi shouted, brother, please come this way. In the evening, Yu Zian also arrived at Ji's house. The Ji family was no different from what it was 1,500 years ago, which gave him a vague feeling that Ji Chunyuan was still there. But not long after he and Zhang Zheyu passed away, Ji Chunyuan died in order to defend against 100,000 enemy soldiers on the Dongling Sea. Yu Zian clenched her fingers, adding a bit of coolness to her brows. Brother Ninth Si fucking sat in the yard, holding his chin. Mr. Ji said that Yinghuo Shaoxin is coming. What big things do you think will happen? Yu Zian's expression paused. He raised his hand, rubbed her head, and asked in a low voice, are you afraid? I'm still afraid, Si fucking said lazily, but it's useless to be afraid, so I choose to face it. The girl is so spirited. He looked at her with a smile, then lowered his head. Where is my gift? Si fucking emphasized, I embroider every day. Really, I always keep you in my heart. He supported his head and raised his eyebrows. Yes, I believe it. Let's go to Dongling Sea to have a look tomorrow. Si fucking was silent for a moment and said, the Zhang family is gone, and the Ji family can't let anything happen again. Yu Zian sat quietly next to her and said, okay. If we go together, we will naturally return together. On the other side, Freeland. Several paternity testing centers in Free Continent received the samples sent by the Huo family, and for a while they felt like they were facing a formidable enemy. The Huo family is doing a paternity test again? Every year, the results are the same. What's the use? I would be able to do it if it were me. The Huo family has been strong for generations, and Huo Shiyun is the one who doesn't even have the blood of an evolver. Even if he mutates, he has mutated too much. Have you not heard that the eldest daughter of the Huo family was not dead back then and has been recovered? She is a very powerful A-level evolver who has not yet been trained by the Eternal Academy. It is said that her son, who is in his early 20s, has already entered the academy. Hospital. Then Huo Shiyun is so angry? After enjoying half a lifetime of pampering, a sister appears who is better than her in everything. Then she deserves it? Okay, stop talking and send the appraisal certificate to Master Huo first. Soon, Huo Yangxing got 10 paternity tests. Good morning. I'll save some time and update it for you in the next few days. The only person who didn't miss work in October was doing nucleic acid tests. I'm tired, and I don't know when the lockdown will last.